Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in into this episode of the Biohazard Declassified podcast. I'm joined with fellow member of BHD, Matt, and of course my boy, the Inky
Let's
boy,
go.
Ink Ribbon. How you doing?
What's up?
So we're going to be talking all about Village. We're a couple of weeks out now, and the hype is building. I must admit, when it was first announced, I was curious, but now I'm in full blown hype mode. Absolute full blown hype mode. Initially, Carl, what are your thoughts about from all the information you've received so far? What you're feeling about Village as we head into the launch?
So I've been trying to study it from a gameplay, game design perspective because that's what I like, and it seems to be what I predicted. It's going to be Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 combined as far as like on a gameplay level, but improving everything along the way. And I don't know. A lot of people had their issues with 7 specifically. Like, it's not a Resident Evil game, and I understand all that. But I am genuinely excited about Village. And, on top of that, as far as the story goes, I think if we weren't in the middle of the whole pandemic 2020 thing, it would have been a lot less positively received. But I'm okay with taking a break from viruses and lockdown and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm excited.
So what you're telling me is you're excited to get away from viruses, to then talk about a fictitious virus inside of Resident Evil. That's glorious. Matt, what were your obviously you've been intertwined with us. We've been breaking a lot of playtest information and news for what feels like 18 months. Really, what's been your journey, and how hyped are you for Resident Evil Village?
Well, first off, I gotta say I'm probably more excited for this than I was for, honestly, 3 Remake. Now, 2 Remake's a little bit different because that was my favorite classic game from the OGs. But yeah, the process that this game has gone through, because most people will tell you that Resident Evil 7 was different. And of course it was. It was a new genre. It was something new and exciting. But everything that we've seen so far for Village looks like they just built off of that and kept evolving with what they wanted to do. The plot makes much more sense. I mean, the environment, everything, the characters, it feels like they really want to put effort into this trilogy, and so they can finish it nice and strong. I mean, we started out with hearing rumors about, werewolves and certain locations in a castle in the mountains and the snow. And, it wasn't up until, what was it, September of last year that we got our first trailer, I believe.
Yeah. In the first, it was in the PS5 showcase.
Yep. And at first I was absolutely excited. I remember seeing you guys watching it and your first expressions on it, how excited you were to see that you were right about everything. And as we're going on, they still have, I'd probably say, we've probably seen less than 10% of what they've given us with that game. We do know how long the game is going to be. They've done the demos. They've done the 5-hour breakdown from what we've seen with the new House Masters. And I absolutely love the direction it's going in. It feels like its own survival horror universe inside of the Resident Evil universe. And I think it's going to be an amazing game.
So something I'd like to touch on, it's more of a technical question, really. Obviously, I've played the demo. I played the demo on a base PlayStation 4. I don't own the next gen PS5 version. It's probably going to be the best version to play it on. One thing I was really happy with is how good it performs on previous gen. So it clocks in at 900p. I think it's 45 FPS. I suppose we shouldn't be shocked because the RE engine is ridiculously versatile, and and it really does look good. For a moment there, I was scared that it was going to go down the cyberpunk route and just put an absolute subpar previous gen port. So Kai, for me, did Capcom make the right decision bringing it to previous gen as well as next gen, or for you, should they have just pushed it straight out to next gen only?
No, obviously they made the right choice. PS5s are impossible to get. Xbox, the new Xbox, I think it's easier, but still difficult. And right now a lot of people, money is tight and no one wants to have to go buy a new system just for that one game that everyone's going to be playing, that they're dying for. So I think it's great. And also, I mean, Resident Evil 7 on the PS4 looked fantastic because, again, the RE engine, like you said, which, fun fact about RE engine, it doesn't stand for Resident Evil. It stands for Reach for the Moon, which is why it's a hand reaching towards the moon, just in case anyone didn't know that.
No, it does not. You're lying to me.
It does. Look it up. I swear. I don't know why. I have no idea how that came. But yeah, no, like I mean, if Resident Evil 7 looked that good, what's the issue? Plus, if I actually got the PS4 version, even though I've got a PS5, because I wanted the collector's edition, and that's the only one that it came with. But again, if people don't know, you get the upgraded version, like for the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, if you want it, like for free. It's there, so it's a win-win.
Agreed. Yeah, and we've been preaching that on our streams, and if you talk to us, definitely pick up the previous gen, especially on PS3, because it's got that special upgrade facility. So you can keep you can have the collector's edition. As Kai said, yeah, you can get a free upgrade to the PS5, which is really cool of them. Obviously, something, Matt, you picked up on, something that, and again, this is really obvious, where we may be almost insulting people's intelligence with this is a sequel to Resident Evil 7. It follows Ethan's story, but you did mention a trilogy. So do you think this is just the Empire Strikes Back, and there's going to be another one up? Because it does say in the promo about his story's coming to an end. So
I honestly don't think you could have put it better. I do think this is going to be the Empire Strikes Back of this. I don't see Ethan's story ending here. They did say his story is going to end. Doesn't mean it has to be him. Doesn't mean it's going to be a specific character. I think that they put a lot of effort into the last two games, and they really could do something magical with this, as well as the finishing 9, even though we're just calling it Village and not 8 at this point. But yeah, I definitely think that this will not be the last venture that we have in this timeline of Resident Evil. And as for what you were saying with like PlayStation 4 and everything, I think it was the best decision they could make. It's probably why for a couple of months we didn't have any new information on Village, because they were giving all their time to get focused on the old consoles. I mean, not only is it good for them for, market standpoint, but everyone gets to experience at that point, especially with the shortage of, the new consoles going out right now. So.
No, yeah, but 100%. And we do know from the playtest information we received early last year that the playtests were on PS4 Pros. They weren't on PS5s at that point. So I suppose for us, the writing was on the wall that it was always going to be a port to the previous gen. Moving on from that, the whole setting of Resident Evil Village, Kai, what was your initial thoughts about and almost its similarities? Because I feel like there are so many similarities in this game to Resident Evil 4. You've got the attaché case inventory. You've got the whole creepy village setting in a foreign country. And I'm not sure if we've been told what country this is set in yet. I think I might. Kai, do you think this is that intentional, or is that just pure coincidence?
I think it's absolutely no coincidence that this game looks the way that it does, and we're getting Resident Evil 4 remake like down the road. Because I mean, that was my first thought when I saw the first screenshots and it showed the village. I was like, oh, it's Resident Evil 4 again. But the thing is, Capcom knows what works at this point with their franchises, and I think that's why they went back. So they're like, okay, Resident Evil 7 off-put a lot of the classic fans. Resident Evil 4 put off a lot of the classic fans. Let's combine them, because there's different groups of Resident Evil players that prefer different styles, whether it's fixed camera or whatever. And I think that it's just taking the best from all of those. But I think that answered the question. But you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it reads as Resident Evil 4, but it's Snow, I guess.
These are some key points that I picked up with, and I've got an article coming biohazardcast.com about it. The occultism, the whole village vibe. You've even got a merchant. Obviously the attaché case. Matt, what are you thinking? Are we grasping at straws here? or is there definitely?
No. They're hanging the carrot right out in front of us. I mean, just like you said, you gave us a list of things. I mean, not to mention we're getting back to buying upgrades, items, especially weapon. I guess ammo could be at this point, but money being dropped from enemy kills as well. I think there's a lot of callbacks to 4 because, to be honest, even if you weren't the biggest fan of 4, 5, and 6, and you're from the OG trilogy, one of the coolest aspects of that was the weapon upgrade system. So if you can bring that classic thing from 4, which a lot of people really liked, it was well reviewed for. Um, I think they're just taking the best aspects of different Resident Evil games, putting it into Village, so that way everyone that plays it comes from a different experience from the game, but it feels wholesome in that way that you can actually jump in and it feels like a Resident Evil game. Just those small mechanics make a big difference.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really like about Capcom is, like, people don't know this, but they really do listen to fans. They go on message boards, they check stuff, and they change things because, like, a lot of people don't know that in Resident Evil 5, I know that that was like co-op and it was like its own thing, but originally it was going to be more of a Resident Evil 4 style game. Chris was going to be a solo campaign. There was a merchant, all this stuff, and it all got axed and like everything changed when co-op was introduced. But Capcom knows that fans were not happy about that, and neither were, critics who reviewed the game. So I think this is another opportunity for them to take the Resident Evil 4 mechanics and go, okay, Resident Evil 5 was a little out there. Let's reel it back and let's like improve on what was already there that people did like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, 100%. And something else again, which draws back to the whole Resident Evil 4. Obviously, we had the Resident Evil 4 VR showcase at the same event as well. So something else. What was your thoughts about that car? I know this is a villager.
Well, so I actually knew about Resident Evil 4 VR for like months now, but I signed an NDA and I couldn't talk about it, which made me so crazy. I was just like, but I just had to sit there and wait until it was finally announced. And I hadn't actually seen any screenshots or anything. They just told me like it's coming and it's a thing. And I was like, oh my God. But actually seeing it, I'm so excited because I love Resident Evil 4, and like to actually like, go in there and be Leon and be Ashley and all the stuff that they were showing. It looks really interesting. Like, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but there's like him like typing on a typewriter and just a lot of little things that I'm so curious to see what they did, because it's a big game. There's a lot to it.
Well, you can like of the content I saw, you can like dual wield and everything. It's really it's crazy. But I am happy that they're revisiting Resident Evil 4. But it seems like is it going to be an Oculus exclusive? Is it? Any plans to roll it out to VR, PSVR?
Completely exclusive to the Oculus Quest 2. I don't know. I'm sure like future iterations of Oculus products will have it, but that was a big thing. Is it is an exclusive developed specifically for the system.
Well, I mean that's. I suppose I should be happy we're getting more Resident Evil 4 content. But again, maybe both of you two are right. They're kind of subconsciously planting seeds that 04 remake is coming, whether you like it or not. And we're gonna subliminally make you like it for our new game, Resident Evil Village, potentially.
Well, and like I know that they sponsored me, and I'm completely Village. On my own volition right now. But the Quest 2 is actually really sweet. I was gonna buy one before they sponsored me, and like. I play it way more than I thought I would. I mean, I literally play it at least once a week. Whereas, the PSVR, setting that thing up is just a nightmare. There's so many cords, there's crap everywhere. But that one, you literally just, you put it on and you're good to go. And there's no wires or anything. And like, that's what makes me excited is like, now there's actually going to be a game that I've been dying to play on this thing, I love it. I love VR so much. It's like, now there's actually going to be a game that I've been dying.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely glorious. Something again, we're going to be experiencing it again tonight, and we experienced it last week, and that is the very, very odd demo phase they've done for Resident Evil. It's I can't even defend it. It's just it's
no need.
All over the place, all over the place. I get the whole one-shot demo. We've seen the one-shot demo before. It's not anything out of the ordinary. But the whole, it's not just 30 minutes. You can only play it for 30 minutes. I can't remember if that was the RE2 remake.
It was.
So you can only play it for 30 minutes, but you can only play it for 30 minutes in an 8-hour window. So you better make sure you're at home, or you're not working in these periods. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Kai?
Well, I missed the first one because I just assumed like, oh, I've downloaded it. I've got, like a week to play it. No, I had 8 hours to play it and completely missed it, because I was working on videos and other content. And I just found out today, for anyone watching, in 4 hours, the window starts, and then you've got 8 hours to play it, and then it's gone. But that's the thing. We've got 30 minutes to play it. There's already a limit. Why limit it even more? I mean, the game's right around the corner anyway. Yeah. Just let us play it when we get to it. Once we use our 30 minutes, cool. Like they did it right with Resident Evil 2 remake. With that demo, you could just 30 minutes and you're done whenever it's convenient for you. I don't know, Capcom. Like, yeah, I can't defend it either.
What are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I'm right there with both of you. I mean, when Resident Evil 2 came out, the demo, 30 minutes, that's fine. I understand. It gives you a certain amount of time to explore the game. It usually is set up for one specific account, so you get that one chance to go ahead and look at it. But if I remember correctly, there wasn't a specific time date for that. It was like a week-long thing, and I think it was on all consoles that were available. I mean, at this point, it's what, PlayStation 4 and 5 now, and then like Xbox and PC aren't available until May 1st, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I believe so. But this also plays into this whole Sony exclusivity. Which, if their only exclusive is that they get the demo before, the second the game's out, that makes their whole relationship completely pointless. That means like there's no other. I really hope there's more benefits than just that for if they've got this big exclusivity deal.
Yeah, you get a little bit of a look a week before everyone else does. I mean, I think the idea would have been to have the 30 to 60 minutes with both the village and the castle. I think that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But they should have just picked a 1 week period where everything that was able to play it was available and not give it a time limit. Because you have to remember, people are working. We're still in a pandemic. There's a lot of things that are going on that people can't get that 30 minutes. They can't. So at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't going to get that experience of the demo the way most of us did for the classic games. And they're just going to come in fresh to Village, which is fine, of course. But the equality in it, it's not there. I don't know what they were thinking with it.
Well, let's be very clear with our voices, Capcom. We're not happy. Don't do this again ever. We love you, but
please don't.
Agreed.
Go to another room for a while,
please.
Yeah. Been an absolute dumpster fire. So something else I picked, and I know you're going to be giving your thoughts on the Resident Evil Village demo shortly. One thing that I picked up and that was really nice to see was they've finally humanized Ethan. They've really like, to me, in Resident Evil 7, it was an intentional thing to kind of make Ethan as boring as possible, because the idea is it's first person. You are Ethan. It's you that is in Resident Evil 7, which makes total sense. But what was nice to see, the Village demo that I played, was they really humanized it. Like, there were certain things that happened in the demo, which if you haven't played it, I strongly recommend you look up the footage, because you won't be able to play it, and probably until the week before. As he says, he like, there's this one point, something happens, and he goes, "Why does everyone keep dying on me?" And it was really emotional. I was like, "Whoa, holy shit!" So that was something. I don't know if you managed to check it out, but that was something that I picked up. Was they finally humanized?
I did get a chance to check it out myself. My first experience was actually watching you as well as Box Soup play it. And especially with Ethan, I mean, it's just clear that he's talking more. This is more of an environment that he's used to, but you can tell like the mental and physical strain that's happening to Ethan as it's going through the demo. I mean, we've had 30 minutes so far, and we can already see that he doesn't want to be used to this. He hates the fact that people are getting hurt around him, that he's always alone. I mean, the scene where he goes out the window afterwards, he's saying, "Why does this keep happening to me? This is too much." Like, he's already at that breaking point, and we're just getting the first glimpses of what happened. So I can only imagine the type of character and range that Ethan will have in this movie once we get far enough into the plot.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, because in the first game, Ethan, like if Ethan was a spice, he would be flour. Like, I mean, there was nothing going on. And it's weird because they tried to kind of combine, like you said, like you're supposed to be Ethan, so he doesn't really have a personality, but then he's got like a story, he's got connections, he's got like all this stuff going on, and then it's like, okay, you got to pick one. You can't do both at the same time, you know?
Which is why I think, and again, one of the big things with Resident Evil 7 was the whole VR thing on PS4. Like, it was really pushing RE7 in VR or PSVR, and now they're not doing that. As far as I know, they're not doing VR with RE8. They can explore that a little bit more. That the real backstory and the crux behind Ethan, and really give him a strong story.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So go
on.
on.
Just a technical note. I know why they're not doing Resident Evil 8 VR. They might do it in the future, but people don't understand when you do VR, you have to render everything twice. So 1 million polygons becomes 2 million polygons. Every effect is doubled, and it's really labor intensive. It's actually the same reason we don't have couch co-op in a lot of games now, is like consoles simply can't handle it. They're pushed to their limit with everything that comes out. So, I mean, 7 was completely reworked. Like, that's why you have to exit out of the game mode completely and then go back into VR mode, because it's literally like a different game, kind of. But just in case anyone cares.
No, that's a very good point, and that's maybe why. Yeah, that's probably why they're not doing it at all. That's actually a good point, because we have seen the complete. I think there's only a handful of games now that support couch co-op, and that's a perfect definition, really. It is a shame. I do miss.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm learning all this stuff about, like, I'm like, oh, that's why this and that, you know. But yeah, now you know.
So we've spoken about kind of the lead up to Resident. What about and we've spoken about the protagonist Ethan. What about Chris Redfield? What do we actually think is going on with Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 8? And I really think that's Jeff Shine. On a side note, really think that's Jeff. It has to be. Someone please confirm.
Wait, you think he's what?
I think Chris Redfield is Jeff Shine, Carlos's voice actor from RE3.
Oh yeah, people have been saying that, but I don't know. I can't confirm or deny. Sorry.
On a side note as well, just before we answer this question, because I'm getting ahead of myself. In the demo, it seemed like quite a few of the actors from RE3 remake and RE7 played the sub characters. So Jill Valentine's actor. Her name has just run out of my head.
Nicole
Tompkins. Yes. It sounds like she was one of the characters. Marguerite, the voice actor for Marguerite, was one of the other characters, and one of the males was another character, and I think it was Resident Evil 7. But yeah, so it seems like it's kind of a little Easter egg. They've kind of reprised their roles. Reprised being in Resident Evil, which I think was kind of cool. It might be worth going back and listen to that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. When Matt RPD did his charity stream, I forgot her name, but the girl who plays Mia was on it, and I listened to that while I was working, and she talked a lot about the team, and it sounds like they became like a very close-knit, well-oiled like machine and family. And she did mention that, you know, it was very different working on Village versus 7, like, you know, because of, you know, social distancing and all that. It was a different vibe. So I think you're right. And, you know, that only makes sense because if you work with people who are professional and they're good and you all work together as a team, and voice actors can change their voices, change characters. That's part of acting. So yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. And Capcom's been known to reuse actors. I mean, the voice of Frank West was William Birkin in Resident Evil 2 remake. So I think that's fine. I mean, 7 showed us they already, you know, they did a great job with that. So sure.
You can really tell in the trailers for Chris Redfield. I mean, if that's not Jeff Shine, oh my God, they're a Jeff Shine impersonator. I really believe that. Yeah. But on that point about Chris Redfield, we saw what happened in the initial trailer drop, and we was all like, whoa! Obviously, we weren't because we know what was happening. But everybody else was like, "Whoa, oh my god, Chris Redfield's a bad guy." Is Chris Redfield a bad guy?
I don't think so. I think he's going through like a Max Payne kind of thing where he's just at it and he's kind of become maybe a little bit of an asshole, but I don't think he's evil. After everything he's been through and all the things that he's stopped, it just wouldn't make sense to me. But we don't know. I could be wrong.
Personally, I mean, I got the vibe that he's playing both sides of the coin, even though I guarantee that'll be a temporary thing. There's no doubt in my mind that Chris is still on the side of good. I mean, I would assume that a portion of the game will have you questioning his allegiance, what he's really there for, what the real reason for shooting Mia would be, or his involvement with Ethan. But I think we're going to find out it's still the Chris that, we came to love. It's just either something traumatic happened that they'll explain in the game as we play, or right now we're just getting from what we've seen in the trailers so far that he's become, I want to say, more of a hard ass or a realist. But his priorities are changing. So
Well, and so like I told you guys before we started, I've been actively avoiding spoilers, so I don't know anything, but I do know that in the past, Capcom has put a target on Chris's head and they almost killed him once. So when they say his story ends, there is a small sliver of a chance they could be talking about Chris. I don't personally think so, but we don't know.
I do think it's too obvious to be Ethan. Like we know he's the titular
Ethan was
character.
only in one game, so like, yeah, I don't know.
it's weird. It's really weird. It's why play the misdirect when there's already the misdirect. It's the certain obvious thing, or it's the completely we have no idea why this is happening thing. And either way, we're going to be shocked. I guarantee when something happens, it's going to be emotional. It's going to be important. It's going to be game changing. But so far, they've done a good job of keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if there's any like bombshell surprises that nobody saw coming. Like imagine if like if Wesker came back or something crazy like that where we're all just like, what? Oh my god.
Well, there was so one of the voice actors posted it was during pandemic, so we definitely know it was after any of the games they would have naturally crossed over in. Of all the voice actors for Village, RE3, and DC Douglas, all at a random like restaurant. I'm pretty sure if I may be having like mad Mandela effect, but to me that they're either, and they couldn't have been meeting for a convention because no conventions are. So the only thing I can think, maybe they was meeting for dinner because they'd all just shot a bunch of shit for Resident Evil Village.
Well, I just pulled that out of my ass. I literally have not read anything, so if that ends up being true, I didn't know. But I don't think so. I don't know. It's all speculation at this point. We're all just excited because it's about to come out. It's a new Resident Evil game, you guys. I mean, that's always like a great time,
Honestly, like as I said before we started, like I was interested in Resident Evil. And I would naturally cover it as interested like I was Resident Evil 3. Like it was interesting. I enjoyed playing it, but now I feel like wow. Like one thing I really want to push with Capcom is let's not rely on the past with remakes. Let's look to the future because then they can really hone their own creative juices. They haven't got to rely on the past to push them forward. So that's why I'm like super hyped for Village because I want to see where they're naturally going to take Ethan's character and the Resident Evil series as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Capcom, like that's one thing that's for them. I think a lot of pressure is even from the beginning, the first Resident Evil game. They've been pioneers, so they don't just like make a game; they revolutionize gaming as a whole. And I think that's there's always a big spotlight on them. I mean, even Resident Evil 7, they had to do something new, which I think might have been the reason they did the VR thing because that was like the first really big, fully playable like VR game that you could go back and forth. And that's where I'm curious on a technical standpoint of what they're going to do with Village that's new. That is like, their traditional revolutionary. Here's this thing that we did that's amazing. It could just be the graphics, but I don't know.
Yeah, they are, and again, they take risks. They do take risks when they need to, and I would say 90% of the time it has paid off. I think the big thing the biggest risk that they took for me that didn't pay off was probably Resident Evil 6 and taking it more down an action horror route. But the rest of the risk of Resident Evil 4 was extremely critically acclaimed game. Choosing to remake the first Resident Evil 5 or 6 years after the game originally come out, that was a big risk. That might not have paid off, but it didn't at the time pay off. But it definitely has paid off now. It's one of the best games in the series. So that's what is good. We're not going to get a cookie cutter Resident Evil, even of what we've played. I don't feel it's cookie cut. Sure, it's got elements from Resident Evil 7. We've got the AIDS comeback. Was it the first aid healing bottle thing? I can't remember what it's called. Don't tell me. Where you pour it on yourself. That's come back. The crafting's come back. Even the way the guns feels very Resident Evil 7.
Well, the thing that I'm really curious to see, like how I said Capcom listens to fans, is what's the number one complaint about Resident Evil 7 from Resident Evil fans is that, yeah, this game's fine, but it's not, it's not the characters we know. It's not Resident Evil the way that we know it. And just the fact that they brought back Chris and changed his face to what fans demanded tells me that that's just a little peek behind the curtain. And I'm hoping to see a lot more Resident Evil brought into this game as far as like the lore, the characters and all that. Because I mean, 7 really was like its own thing in its own universe almost. So that's why I said like the Wesker thing. But like if we get other characters or other things that no one saw coming, I think that would be a really great, not like an olive branch, but like maybe a bridge between all the separations of the series.
Yeah, old and new. I can see that. What are your thoughts, Matt, on where they're taking Resident Evil and the fact that they don't take risks? Sorry, they do take risks.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, if we're going to talk about risk with the Resident Evil trilogy, I mean, other than 6, what else did we have come out that, wasn't a big hit? I mean, Umbrella Corps came out for PC, and then we had Operation Raccoon City, which, don't get me wrong, I loved the game. It just wasn't for everybody. I think the biggest risks was because there was that time period where Capcom really wanted the fans to tell them what direction to go in. So the first thing was we had Revelations 2 where they did that chapter by chapter, and they actually asked people what they thought of it. They tried to get back to that, horror feel, survival horror. Then we got 7. 7 was a completely different game. It was the first game that we played that we were aware that no original cast members would be back, no one that we'd be familiar with, new enemies, a new environment. And it is true, if you come from a standpoint where you haven't played a Resident Evil game and you jump into 7, the game itself is absolutely amazing. But if you're a classic Resident Evil fan playing 7 for the first time, it's very mismatched. The people say, yes, it's an amazing Resident Evil game, and the others just say, give it a different title, and it's still a great survival horror game. So I do think it paid off. I do think people like Ethan. I do think 7 was fantastic. The environment, the family setup with everybody involved with the Baker family up till the end was really good. Even throwing Chris in there, even if they just wanted that to be more of an Easter egg because they weren't sure what direction they were going to go in with an 8 or 9 if it did happen. It just gives me proof that, they want to try new things, but they also have in their back pocket the stuff that made Resident Evil great just in case. And now that we're seeing all this stuff 2 weeks before Village comes out, there's no doubt in my mind that they put so much effort into this game. I do think there will be several connections to classic games. I do think they will breach out more. I think we'll learn more of Umbrella, maybe get some information on Wesker, some of the viruses. Because if you remember with 3 Remake, they left it on a cliffhanger. If you pick up the note, you see that the Los Plagas was involved with, what country was it? I don't know if anyone remembers it specifically. I think they're trying to tie things together now. And I think they're doing a really good job with Village. And I have no doubt in my mind that there will be something big that happens in this game that just clicks and it all makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm hoping for that too, because this isn't the only franchise that's going through that. We're in a weird time where our franchises are all starting to age a lot. I mean, Tomb Raider, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, they've gone for so long. that we're I guess it's growing pains. I don't really know how to describe it, but I mean, even Tomb Raider, they're talking about unifying the timelines and all that stuff. So like, it's kind of the same thing. And then there's also like the added factor that these characters are going to start aging. I mean, Chris is now like what, 50 something,
Yeah.
and that's weird. But
Yeah,
I guess we'll just have to see what they do.
I think it is a necessity, but again, it's okay saying, "Oh well, yeah, we can just use Chris Red. We want to see Chris Redfield again." Again, Chris Redfield is in his early 50s. We need some new Resident Evil characters. We need some new storylines, because just like any media, I've spoken about this on the podcast before. Like any story, then there needs to be a development of character. Like, you know, when Chris went into the mansion for the first time, okay, he had a big skill set, but he'd never dealt with anything like that before. And, you know, even Resident Evil 6 had development, because you had a depressed Chris. Every team that he gets involved with just gets absolutely massacred through no fault of his own. But what's important is you see that development. Like, this is the problem. This is the problem that Leon's going to have, is that, you know, again, started off as a rookie cop, was exposed to all this nonsense that no rookie cop should be exposed to, then went on to be a badass in Resident Evil 4. What more can you do with Leon S. Kennedy? The man has done everything. And same with Chris. He needed to be bad, or at least alluded to be bad, because there's no other character development for him. The man has seen and done it all.
Yeah, and like, that's where these characters are really well progressed and well written too, because like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I first played Resident Evil 4 and like got to kind of know Leon's personality, I was like, whoa, like he is not the same person he was in Resident Evil 2. I mean, in 2, he was baby Leon, you know, he was a rookie and he was like goody two shoes, and now he's like, oh, like I hate everything. And it's because he's been through a lot. Same with Chris. I mean, when, you know, you played Resident Evil 1, he was like a fresh-faced STARS member, like, yeah, like I'm a policeman and justice and whatever, and now he just looks so tired and done, like.
You see, that's the thing. Like, we grew up with these characters, and yes, they were heroes for us, but we have to remember at the end of the day, they are human, and they've gone through so many experiences that the standard human probably wouldn't be able to handle without a psychiatrist. And that's the scary part when it comes to new Resident Evil games, because you have to try to imagine, if we're going to continue the Resident Evil legacy with new games, new characters, getting away from these characters, getting away from, you know, like Jill and Claire, Leon, Chris, the RPD, the STARS, it's very scary to take that leap. And I'm sure Capcom's aware of that too. Now, I think they've done a great job with Ethan so far, and I've enjoyed the characters that they've introduced in 7 and Village so far. But I can only imagine the type of meeting it would be for them to say, look, it's time to move on. It's time for something new. And I think we're, you know, currently seeing those first footsteps.
Yeah, and well, that's the other thing too, is I mean, they this could be like, you know, they changed their mind and they don't want Ethan and Mia, so they're just going to get rid of them, or it could be something different. But the end of the day, it's all about where the money goes, and if this game sells like crazy, it's going to affect the series, and that's how it's been all the time. Although another good thing about Capcom, like I said, they listen to fans, because Resident Evil 6 sold amazingly well.
Yes.
But it was so poorly received that Capcom was like, okay, I know we made money, but we also made a lot of mistakes. So it's good to know that money isn't everything for them, and they, you know, they are smart enough to see ahead and go, okay, if we do this again,
Yeah,
that's again, fantastic point. I know this is more out of the spectrum of Village, but it will play a part into my next point. Capcom's marketing for Resident Evil 6 was so big, because I remember looking at it like, oh my god, it's gonna be clever, it's gonna be Chris versus fucking Leon, it's gonna be crazy, zombies are back. You know, before I'd even played the game, I'd kind of already sold my head, and that's why I went and picked it up. But just talking about Resident Evil Village and the marketing, holy shit, like, they have gone out of their way to market this game. You got Lady Dimitrescu, I don't really give a shit how you pronounce it. Dimitrescu, you got her absolutely everywhere. You've got her advertised on buses in Japan. You've got life-size cutouts. Obviously, the meme community have picked up on Dimitrescu like absolutely anything. Capcom...
They've also paid big cosplayers to cosplay her.
Yeah, I've seen like YouTubers be like,
Yeah.
Capcom just contacted me and told me to dress up as her. And it's
They were like,
what?
look, we're going to give you some money. Just put the cosplay together and get us some pictures. And they've done that. And, they're fantastic.
Well, because the thing is, like, this happened organically. They interviewed the character designer for her, and he was like, I just wanted to make an interesting character. I didn't think that this would happen. And I mean, the internet did what the internet does and just was like, like giant vampire boobs or whatever. So like, yeah, but Capcom was smart and they latched onto that and they're like, okay, this is what you want. Let's give you more. Like, let's go for it. Although one thing that makes me laugh is I'm just like, how are these fans going to feel when they realize they have to kill her? Because I'm sure at some point in the game that's going to happen.
Or she's, and the common one I saw was she's going to go for this absolutely awful mutation where she's going to just blow out of her fucking. It's going to be absolutely crazy. But on the point of marketing as a whole, the cosplay obviously they've scored. Means happen organically. They scored an absolute winner with Lady Dimitrescu. Obviously, they've done all the cosplaying. Something they've done, and I really hope that more companies do this, is they have taken streamers, and I suppose this is the best time to do it, taking streamers on board, the whole Resident Evil official live stream, which, you know, made everybody feel important for a brief moment in time. Like, oh my God, you know, Capcom's sending me out official assets. Like, I really think that's good, because there were so many streamers. I mean, we streamed every single showcase here at Biohazard Declassified. We even got CVX Freak, the absolute boy. I remember it being like 4 o'clock in the morning for the Americans. It was 8 o'clock in the morning for him or something like that. I was up anyway, and we was watching some random Japanese showcase about Village, and he was live translating it as we was watching it because it was all in Japanese. And you know, we've covered all of them. Absolutely even the boring Sunday ones, which you didn't even get any information, but you never know when they're going to drop Village information. We covered all them, but when we covered the last showcase, we noticed that a lot of people were also covering it in our little Resident Evil community, which was absolutely, obviously it was shit for us because we had to break up our market share, which we would normally have, but fantastic for Resident Evil, because for that one night, everyone was watching that showcase, even if you're not in Resident Evil. So it's absolutely insane. Matt, what do you think about how they've kind of handled the marketing for Resident, even getting involved with the PS5 showcase? Let us know your thoughts.
Gotta say, I mean, you gotta love it. I mean, it's imperative that Capcom does care about the fans. I do think they're trying to branch out more. They want to be part of the community. They want to bring people on. They want it to be the franchise that it used to be. And whether that's famous speedrunners or cosplayers or, you know, YouTubers that are really big that, you know, once something's showcased, they're there the minute it's out. They are just reaching out to everyone that is interested in this trilogy, in this universe, because the thing is, the fans are there. The people are there. They care about this. They want to see it progress. And all they have to do is extend that hand, and we're there. So I think they've been doing a great job. I think everything that we've seen so far has been honestly fantastic. I'm completely excited for this game, not to mention excited for the entirety of Resident Evil. I mean, we've got a couple shows coming out. Me personally, I cannot wait for the movie reboot. I think that's the biggest thing other than Village that I've been looking forward to. It literally is a fantastic time to be a Resident Evil fan and to be part of the community.
As I'll keep saying it, 2021 is the year for Resident Evil. The biggest launch. There's so many more launches in this year than I think there's been ever. Resident Evil. I know they used to do annual releases, but so much content. Obviously, the animated series is out soon. November, you've got the drop of the film. You've got obviously Resident Evil Village in a couple of weeks. There's obviously talk about Resident Evil Outrage.
Out there somewhere.
What's that? Sorry.
Wesker Twins is somewhere out there. We'll eventually do something about that.
That's completely gone silent, but probably for good reason. Going to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Kai, what are your thoughts? Speaking about the launch of Resident Evil Village, what are your thoughts on RE-verse?
Like, okay, it's not for me. Like, I can't say one way or another that it's a good or a bad game, because like I remember really struggling with Operation Raccoon City, and it feels like that all over again. It's just not the kind of game that I play or that I'm good at. I did play the first open alpha or open beta or whatever, and I just didn't have a good time. But I know that there's probably people out there who will really enjoy it, and more power to them. But it's not for me.
Matt, I know you're big into the whole competitive gaming esport genre. What was your thoughts? Because I know me and you sat down and kind of played it together. Well, not played it together. What were your thoughts on the closed beta initially?
So, I mean, other than me loving Resident Evil and survival horror games, I do have a big background on first-person shooters. Like played Halo, Apex, Call of Duty, whatever you want to name it, third person, first person. So getting like a Resident Evil combination game that was action-packed, fast-paced multiplayer. Because I mean, other than this, like what else have we had? Operation Raccoon City, like you said. I mean, we had our experiences with Resistance, which was fun and wasn't, depending on what happened or what servers you were on. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. I liked seeing the classic characters. I like seeing everything that's available. I think it would have been better if they actually had either console or you can have teams, because you can only go into this beta and alpha by yourself, and it is a team game too. But I think if they take care of it, I think if they update it, I think if they use content other than everything that we have from the RE engine, I mean, bringing back classic characters, classic enemies, maps, so on and so forth, it could be a pretty common thing for people to play this game. I mean, obviously the big winner here is going to be Village, and we have a lot of stuff with Resident Evil coming out. But this is the first time they've gone into that really like I don't know if you would even call it a battle royale, like just a competitive multiplayer shooter that is in the Resident Evil universe. Because we've seen what's happened to the other type of games like that. They've become either, mediocre reviewed or just kind of, lost to the wind. I'm okay with it. I want to see where it happens. I want to see what happens.
I really, really want to be hopeful about it. So I think now is the best. Like they took it again. They took a risk with Project Resistance, with the whole 4 versus 1 asymmetric multiplayer. Took a really big risk of it. I feel like it didn't pay off. It didn't. They fucked the beta up initially, because there was so many issues. I remember actually having to pull an Xbox out of my attic, fucking quickly get my credit card out just to pay for a live Xbox Live for 1 month just to play it, because they fucked up the PC port, the PS4 port. It was just an absolute mess. They didn't update it to what I thought was acceptable, and it just absolutely died off. Now I feel like they've got a more competitive. They can enter that side of multiplayer gaming. But again, I feel like if they don't update it, it's gonna be what happened with Resistance. They've got the best opportunity. They've got all these games in the RE engine, like RE7, RE2, RE3. So many of these locations they can make up on the back of a fucking cigarette packet. Easy enough to do. They just need to keep. You can have all the characters you want in Resident Evil. There's countless characters. They just need to keep it updated. Kai, what do you think? Do you think it's now or never for Capcom on multiplayer, because they historically speaking, cannot hold their own in the multiplayer circuit?
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before Outbreak. No, I feel like I'm the only person who liked Resistance. Like, I played that a ton. One of my friends even screenshotted my PlayStation stats and was like, "What the hell?" Because I'd put in like 500 hours or something crazy.
Christ.
And I genuinely enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun doing it. It was also what I played when I was doing cardio, so there's that. But I think, as from a business standpoint, this is the time for Capcom to strike with multiplayer, because Resident Evil is now such a giant mainstream franchise. Their issue isn't making multiplayer. Their issue is making multiplayer that retains the Resident Evil flavor, which is why I like Resistance, because, and here's the big reason I don't like Reverse, When I play Resistance, it's the exact same controls as Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake. I understand it. I got it. Great. Reverse is completely its own thing, and I just felt like I was playing a completely alien game that I had never touched before. And, you know, if you're used to games like third-person shooters, like I guess like PUBG or Call of Duty or whatever, then you know those controls, but I didn't. And I just didn't. That's one of the big reasons I didn't have a good time. And then going back to Outbreak, same thing with that. That I know that was turn-based and slower and everything, but that felt like Resident Evil. And, you know, if you're a fan of the other games, then you pick it up and you play it. So that's where Capcom needs to kind of find a way to combine all of that into an experience for Resident Evil players that is I can't think of the word right now, but cohesive. There you go.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just on that point, they're not off to the best start because, again, they fucked up the fucking beta release. Not only the closed beta, which is what we all played as RE ambassadors a couple of months ago, but the one that's just the open beta a couple of weeks ago. It was down for maintenance for most of the time that it was up. Capcom, how are you not getting this right? I really don't understand how they've messed this up so much.
Are you talking about Reverse?
Yeah. So they recently had another open beta, which was Matt will talk a little bit more about what the open beta, what was involved with it, but it was the exact same thing as the closed beta in the content that it provided. But they had, again, a set window. It was like a weekend, Friday to Monday, but about 70% of the time during when everyone was up during peak hours, it was offline for maintenance. It was only like in the early hours of the morning that you could actually play it, which was so counterintuitive and really has not sold me on. Thank God we're getting it for free because I won't currently go out of my way to purchase it. Go on, Matt. Weigh in.
A few things on that. I mean, anytime something is free or an add-on or an addition, it gets you a little bit worried because you either think, one, it wasn't worth the content that they made, or two, they're not 100% sure on it, so they're just kind of giving it to you. As for the beta and the alpha, I remember when it first came out playing it, there was a lot of issues because you couldn't get into matches. Connections at some point were pretty terrible. And the hours, like you said, were so weird. And then there were times where it was available to everybody, but because they needed to do work on it, it was down for maintenance as well. I think we got to play it for half the time we originally were able to, that window it was available to play. And it's been, 3 months since then, and they were having kind of the same issues. And the only difference is they went from being an alpha that was just specifically for the ambassadors to the actual public handling it. Doesn't look good in anybody's eye that wants to play the game. Don't get me wrong, I'm still excited. I'll give it some time once I've literally checked every nook and cranny of Village. But so far, it's almost off to the start that Resistance was. And Resistance was multiplayer to the point where it's like you were with a group. So,
and that's the thing about Resistance. I learned this later on, allegedly, but the reason Resistance was included for free is not that the game itself was bad or unfinished or anything. It's that Resident Evil 3 Remake was lacking in content, so they were like, if we just give them this free multiplayer game, then we're okay. Which is also why Resistance, a lot of people don't remember this, but there was story single player modes and stuff announced, and it was going to have a lot more fleshed out stuff, and they canceled all of that because it was included in Resident Evil 3. So it's like they chopped the legs off of both games and combined them together. Whereas I think this time around, it's not for that kind of, and Village looks, I mean, we got Mercenaries, we got all this stuff. It looks great. I think now it's more that Capcom is dipping their toe into the water of multiplayer, and we're like, we'll just give it to them for free so that we have players and see how this goes, and then we can go from there. And maybe it's kind of like a research type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can see that. But again, another shortfall of the demo, Matt briefly touched on it earlier, was, again, this is a multiplayer game. The open beta would have been a perfect time for all the boys to jump on and go, right, let's give it a go. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So they bring the beta out, but it's single player only. You can only enter the lobbies as one person. So you're paired with 3 other people, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, it was free for all, wasn't it?
Yep,
was it
free for all.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it was free for all. So they sold it on the fact, it's going to be this really cool team-based game, and just free for all only. Yeah, that was that terrible. I actually felt borderline sorry for them for how just tragic. But I'm hoping first week. Go on.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, trust me, I understand with alphas and betas there are difficulties, there are things that they work out and contain maintenance on. But to go 3 periods and not just enter and have a lobby system, it goes over my head.
Well, the thing that I'm like, okay, if I'm Capcom, I want to make a multiplayer game. What do I do? I think where Resident Evil also really shines is co-op play, because like going back to Outbreak or even Resistance, like working with your friends to overcome these monsters and go through these environments and try to get out of the city. I mean, that's what Resident Evil is all about. It's just you're doing it with other people. So basically, just I think they should just do something where it's like classic Resident Evil, but instead of everyone splitting up and having their own scenarios, just go through it together and help each other along the way. Like, I don't understand why it has to be competitive. Maybe that's just me. I don't like competitive games.
No, I can agree with that. I mean, I think some of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had with Resident Evil, not even including multiplayer, but especially including multiplayer, is Outbreak. It's a very simple thing. You're 4 survivors. You are getting from point A to point B. It's different scenarios. You're put in different locations. It makes you feel like a survival horror game. You work together with your team, you communicate, you interact more in those games than you do with most other competitive, first-person shooters. Like, it's an actual strategy game. And trust me, 99.9% of all Resident Evil fans in the community have been for years wanting an Outbreak remake. We want it. It's always going to be there. We always want to have it. It just, it feels like Capcom's aiming more towards what they think the community wants nowadays, plus what will make a profit for them, unfortunately. But then again, that's how most companies are. So
yeah, when we played Outbreak, when we were live streaming it, there was so many people. When I went back and watched the stream again, I was looking at the live chat, and there's so many people like, what game is this? Is this a mod? Because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. They didn't know what Outbreak was, and they were just like, this is so cool. And there was also people telling me that they had never seen me look so happy before. So as a Resident Evil fan, I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know you briefly mentioned earlier that Capcom really listen to their fans. They are really not listening to us on this one, and we really need them to. I mean, to be honest, I'll set my expectations really low. I would just be happy with a PS2 Classics port of the game, and as long as it's got multiplayer play, I'll be absolutely happy.
And that's the weird thing is like, Capcom has done this with different series. Like Dino Crisis is another one that people have been like, please, anything, we'll take it. And the weird thing about that too is Dino Crisis is one of their best-selling games of all time. Dino Crisis sold more than like Dead Rising and Revelations 2. And it's like, okay, I guess money really doesn't matter to you guys apparently, or something.
Even Parasite Eve, like, please give us a new Parasite Eve. I'd be more than happy to have something they could do that with the RAs. But yeah, I feel like at this point,
in my day,
literally lit.
Well, yeah, and I feel like if Capcom don't do it, someone else is going to do it, and they're going to get very close to what we're. I mean, we're already seeing it with Dino, like people are making so many different Dino Crisis clones. Like I use that. That's an endearing term. I don't mean that as a criticism, but having dinosaurs and survival horror just makes 100% sense. Something that was glorious about Jurassic Park is the scenes where they're kind of hiding from the dinosaurs as they're coming through the kitchen. And to me, that is like survival horror all over. Like they could do something with that in the Resident Evil universe or in the Dino Crisis universe.
And I wasn't allowed to say this, but when Oculus sponsored me, they had me play the Jurassic Park game, and like I asked them if I could say it, but like I wanted to say it so bad. I was like, I wish this was like Dino Crisis instead, because it was that feeling of like hiding in the kitchen from the Raptors. But I was like, oh my god, if Capcom just even made a little VR Dino Crisis game, oh, it'd be so amazing.
Oh, wouldn't it? Honestly, wouldn't it? But we are getting Resident Evil 4 in VR. We should be happy.
I'll take it.
Bits and pieces.
So, kind of rewinding back to Resident Evil Village and talking about we briefly spoke about Chris Redfield being somewhat of a proxy antagonist at this point. Quite sure what he's going to be. All we know is he was really naughty and he shot at Mia. What do we think about Lady Dimitrescu and the rest of the ladies of the castle?
I personally don't understand the I think the internet's just very horny during this time, and they're like, it's something new, you know, this really big, like, dominant kind of mommy thing, without getting into like fetishes and psychology and all that stuff. I think that's part of it. I think she's a really cool design. I mean, I see her as basically a female tyrant, like a
Yes,
you know, Mrs. X, as I like to call her. But I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting, and I'm really interested to see how the whole gender dynamics thing is going to go, because Capcom's really treading the water on that one in this day and age. Because like even in the trailers, with, you know, they kept like constantly like, oh, there's a man, like, oh, man blood, like, oh, it's the first guy, and like they really are focusing on that. So I don't know if that's going to play a role in all that. But as far as the character designs, I think it's fine. I'm not so excited about the three like lesser whatevers that are like her coven or followers or whatever, because just simply they all look the same. I can't tell them apart, and I feel bad. I would love if they all had their own unique designs like she did, but it's fine.
So didn't we confirm from the demo itself that the pictures in that show that they are her daughters?
Oh, are they?
I remember there being specific. If you play the demo and just look around the area, of course, there's pictures from all four of the leaders from the houses, and many pictures of the three daughters, which lead people to believe that they were actually the daughters. So that could be really cool. I mean, speaking on that subject, it's the first real female villain antagonist that we've had, other than like the Bleach Queen, which is technically something different. What was the female tyrant from Dead Aim?
Well,
wasn't
really
that was
female.
Also a male.
Yeah,
both of the ones you just described were technically male.
You also forgot you also forgot Alexia.
That's what I was going to go to next, because that's one of my favorites. But it's interesting because we have this dynamic where, of course, she's going to play a main villain role, but then we have the mini bosses, like you said, the three that you literally see them as the same character. Maybe we'll get a little backstory on them separately, because I have no doubt that we're probably going to encounter them in different scenarios by themselves, because I feel like fighting all three would be a little overpowered for a boss fight. So there's going to be a lot of time in the castle that we get with them, and more backstory on it too. And while we're at it, we should probably talk about the other house bosses. The ventriloquist one is the one that has me the most excited. And like from the information that we have on that specifically, of what type of house that's going to be, I'm really excited to hear more.
And then
because we have
I was just going to say, then you've got Heisenberg, who's I guess he mutates into the big swinging bat thing. The guy with the swinging hammer. You've got, honestly, it's so much to this. There's so many bosses. It's gonna be it's gonna be exciting. But touching on just the common infected, the beast men, or however you want to say, it is a virus. We can confirm it's a virus. There was things that happened in the demo where somebody got attacked by the beast men, and then they turned into a beast man. So we know it is a viral. Whatever is happening in Village is a virus. Like it does affect people if they are bitten, like a traditional like the traditional TNG virus. Just nice to see. I was. What do you guys think of the Beastmen initially, and just the whole vampire Romania vibe?
Well, just so you know, like it's almost basically confirmed that there are werewolves, because I forgot his name, the hammer guy.
Heisenberg.
Heisenberg. He says, like, in one of the trailers, I think it was what they showed in the showcase, like ladies, gentlemen's, and lichens or something like that, and that's like straight up like werewolves. So, which from what I know, that is also in lore transmitted like a virus. You know, it takes a bite or a scratch and that whole thing. So, like I said earlier, I'm excited to get away from, you know, the traditional Resident Evil viruses and like because we're kind of living through something similar to that. So it's nice to go to more of a fantasy thing, and I'm perfectly okay with it.
I always feel like they've sidestepped around certain things like paranormal and vampires and that. So it's actually quite nice to see them just hit it head first, just hit it head first.
Yeah. Well, and it's a nice look for Capcom too, and I think it was just a happy accident with timing, because like I don't know if people remember, but right when Resident Evil 3 remake came out, it was like at the height of the pandemic when things were really bad, and like the first opening cutscene is a reporter being like, the virus is out of control and everyone's like infected, and it was just like oh, this is awkward.
It's meant to be an escapism. What are you doing to me?
Exactly, and that's why it's like, oh, like vampires and werewolves, awesome, yeah, like let's go.
But
See, that's another reason I'm excited, because we know the 4 houses, and there's going to be different variants of enemies for each type of house. So with Eisenberg, we know there's the Lycans, and we've seen the more advanced Lycans. I like to call them the lurkers, the ones that hide around the maps that they've shown pictures of. We know that with the Castle and Lady, that there's going to be skinny-esque zombie skeleton guys. We know that there's these bat-looking creatures, which are the same ones mutated. So just imagine what type of aquatic creatures we'll see with the aquatic house, and then the ventriloquist is going to be more, artificial creatures. We could see a plethora of new enemy types and really cool things. That's why it's so exciting.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm really excited for, is like there's the merchant, the upgrade system, all that stuff. And I know that that's not just for fun. There's going to be strategy. There's going to be like, more of that Resident Evil 4 flavor injected in the combat, because different weapons for different enemies, and then you choose which weapons you prefer, so you can play it one way or play it another way. And yeah, that's where I'm excited, because that's a lot of fun. And then also, when you level up your guns, it's sort of like I guess level up progression or whatever, which is always fun in any game. So there's just a lot of things that they've thrown into the formula that are, I think, going to really make this game shine.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, 100%. Do we know where Village is set?
Earth, I believe.
I think we can confirm that.
Understandable. Have a nice day. No, do we know
Let me Google it.
Because I feel like it's Romania, but is that too?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Pretty sure, yeah. That's a good answer.
Van
Helsing, Hugh Jackman. That's what I get.
It was
like, it's in Lady Dimitrescu's house. I'm like, duh.
It was also nice on the side note.
Romania.
Yes. It is. Well, I wonder why they're there. I wonder how Ethan and Mia got there. That's what I want to know.
Probably in a vehicle of some kind.
Oh, man, you just
I'm sorry,
straight on. Just straight on. What will be nice is to see my favourite thing in all of Resident Evil, especially the modern Resident Evils, and that's the return of the bolt cutter, which has now become somewhat of a staple in modern Resident Evils. It was in Resident Evil 7, in Resident Evil 2, it was in Resident Evil 3, and guarantee it's going to be in Resident Evil Village.
Hold up. They teased us with the crank in the demo. We did get teased with the crank. The crank will be returning. I guarantee.
Ooh.
It's coming back.
Dude,
that's erotic.
I'm gonna lose my shit when I see those sexy red handles.
And then like the new fans of the series are gonna be like, okay, he really likes cranks. Whatever. But you don't understand.
Like, just pictured Ori 1 and 2 crank sounds in my head as it happens.
Whenever you're watching like an old movie or something, you hear like Resident Evil sound effects in there. It's always just like I actually saw or something.
I know this is proper random, but somebody showed it to me. I can't remember how I saw it, but what was the film? It's one of those comedy spoofs. Like Airplane, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was one of those, and basically they used one of the fucking tunes from the original Resident Evil 3 in like some car chase sequence. I was like, what is going on? I'll have to. Really? I'll dig it out and I'll send it to you.
I'll have to look that up.
It was absolutely bizarre. So
yeah, I've been watching Neon Genesis Evangelion on Netflix, and a couple of the doors and some of their sound effects are it must be the same sound library that Capcom used, because I'm like, that's straight up Resident Evil sound effects right there.
Mother Miranda.
Mm.
Who is Mother Miranda?
Yes.
Is it? I'm just thinking it's Lady Dimitrescu.
Well, no, because she talks to her on the phone. So I think Mother Miranda's the one that's in charge of the whole operation. Like, she owns like the brothel or whatever.
But you do, oh, go on. I was going to say, you do see a glimpse of them behind Matt, actually, in that scene where you're walking down out towards where the scarecrows are. Do see her do something with another person. Pretty brutal, actually. And then she just disappears.
When you finish that scene, so after everything that happens in the house where he goes after the window, you hear 2 gunshots. And just as he's pushing open the door, she's literally standing there and kills the guy that they had sent out earlier to look. So, I mean, she's definitely the big bad of this. Just like a lot of Capcom games, they usually have the main villain, and then there's like a plethora of maybe 4, 5, 6 just kind of mini bosses that you go around the map beating. It almost feels like it's a Devil May Cry of sorts, but with Resident Evil, and that's a pretty common thing with these Capcom games. So, I think we'll get a couple hours in each section, and then we'll get the main storyline with the final big baddie, which will be Mother Miranda. I'm just interested to see what she's perceived as, because obviously she's the leader in this, but they also perceive her as a god too.
Yeah, so I just found a picture that IGN posted of apparently Mother Miranda. She's in like a painting and she's got like a mask on and she's like looks very Jesus holy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I walked up to it when I was.
Oh, church. The demo you got to play? How nice for you.
It was, I must admit, it was like 1 a.m. my time. And I'll be checking out the next one shortly. Which again, the castle demo is going to be coming out. It's probably already going to be out if you're listening to this on the podcast format. It's going to be the castle demo. I really think it's going to be what they spoke about in the playtest information, where you encounter one of the bosses but kind of don't. I'll have to go back and research what that playtest was, but that was set in the castle as well. But I'm wondering if that actually was the maiden demo that they spoke about. That would also make a lot of sense. But I'm wondering if the castle demo is just going to be following on from Ethan in the village. So you're naturally going to go, because at the end of that demo, you put these plimps in, these little circle badge things. Then you go into the castle. So
I have a theory about the maiden demo. I don't think you're playing as Ethan in that. I think you're playing as like a random like prisoner that got taken or whatever. Like, you know, when you find a file and someone describes like their horror experience, I think that was like going through that. Oh wait, no, does she say Ethan when she walks in at the end? Oh, never mind. Ha.
I can't remember.
I just debunked myself.
I actually didn't get around, because I don't have a PS5. I didn't get around to playing the
with the maiden demo at the very end, Lady D refers to the person as a her, and that's right before she does the claw thing and actually kills the character. So it's definitely not Ethan.
Okay, so I might be right.
So I think that's why they refer it to a maiden, because she is a maiden. We just don't know what character it is yet, and she does get killed at the end of the maiden demo. So.
Okay.
Some of the locations look glorious in the castle, though. Obviously, I've got one behind me, which is like kind of the main hall. Again, staple of Resident Evil. You've got to have a ridiculously nice. The environments just look absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The environments are the main character in every Resident Evil game.
And we even get to interact with it more now, because it's back to the point where it's almost Metal Gear Snake Eater. I mean, we actually get to hunt live animals on the map, and not only hunt them, but we get to actually turn the meat in and the products from them and make foods that give you, stat boosts. I think that's a cool little addition. I did like that personally.
Yeah, there's a lot more RPG elements to this Resident Evil. We've got the crafting system. Obviously, the currency system returns. It's cool. Actually, I should have known that it was in Romania because they used the same currency as what was displayed in the demo. So they are still trying their best. They're not just kind of resting on their laurels. They are pushing it forward by adding all these cool little additions, and even the option of kind of bribing the old lady for her to give you information. I can't remember if it was money based or you had to perform a series of tasks, but I know they briefly mentioned.
Yeah,
showcases.
I don't remember. I'm telling you, I've been avoiding. Like...
So have you not seen any of the trailers either?
I have. I just haven't, like, the new ones that just came out. I haven't seen them. Like, I've just seen screenshots of that weird mannequin. But I mean, that's the level I'm at where I'm just like, I've just shaken the present, but I don't want to, know what's inside.
It is tough. Admittedly, it's tough being like a dedicated content creator inside of Resident Evil. Really wanting to be excited for it, but at the same time risking. It's the same when all the playtest information come out and almost risking exposing yourself to information which I'd rather just be a casual fan. Enjoy second it's released.
Not to mention we're in another one of those scenarios where it's 2 weeks out and the game's already released in certain locations, so we really have to keep our heads down if we don't want to see certain things. So
yeah, we do know that I think in Australia there's been a couple of leaks of copies, like full retail copies of Village. So exactly the same thing happened with Resident Evil 3. I think a game store in France was going bust or something like that. I think that was the story. It might be Chinese Whispers that story, but that got released to see in the entire game before officially launched, which is of course a shame. But we try, and it's one of them. Capcom did have the very unfortunate scenario where they did. It wasn't just like playtest information, which what we were spoken about, where people were giving their anecdotal information about what they experienced during a playtest. This was people stealing information from Capcom and then trying to hold them to ransom on, which I feels like a completely different kettle of fish. But a lot of stuff in there was completely village orientated. I remember seeing like CG cutscenes that were unfinished. It was absolutely crazy. In that, I don't know if you managed to check some of it out, Kai. Actually, I can't remember how much. It's one of them. It was a little while ago, and so much information on Village has come out since, which kind of confirmed it. Resident Evil Outrage was one of them.
Yeah. Let's not give any attention to the Capcom leak. Like, I feel like I want to respect Capcom and like everything that they've done for us. Like, I had to work so hard to avoid, because people were tweeting me the spoilers and stuff, and I was like, stop, like, don't do that.
Same here.
Like, it's gonna affect everything. So I just no.
Well, we actually made a point to not cover any of it as well. Obviously, internally between ourselves, we spoke about what was what was mentioned, but in terms of our platform and our brand, we don't give in to hackers who, put up money. Yeah. It's just absolutely insane. But Resident Evil Village is going to be glorious. And we're so close. Oh, we've only got 2 weeks. I can't believe this. And again, this stupidly convoluted demo system. They do have another demo next week. Isn't it like 8 hours in Village or something? And you get to play loads of different.
But you can only play on Tuesdays during daylight hours with your left hand.
Absolutely.
With a credit card on file,
Yeah, no, it's convoluted, but there is, and again, no, it's really interesting launching a demo so close to the release. So much information has come out within, because I don't know how you felt, Kai, but when they were doing these showcases, it's like, man, I've already spoken about this. I don't need to listen to this again. I've stayed up to watch this damn PS5, the 800th PS5 showcase. 802nd Capcom showcase, and they're not telling me stuff that I don't already know. which I should. And then the last showcase, they just absolutely blew their load and just told us absolutely. And with the first demo, like so much happens in that first demo. Like all the characters that were in the first trailer, they perished. So it was like, whoa, I guess we're back to zero again.
Yep, and that's just what I think that's the way marketing goes. You know, they want to tease the tip until it's like close to the game coming out, and then they start to really like be like, come on, look at all this other stuff. And anyone who was on the fence suddenly is like, okay, well, now that I know this is in the game, I don't know why they waited so long to tell people about Mercenaries, because you know,
Yeah.
I'd imagine you want more time for people to pre-order and stuff, but I don't know.
It is, and that's a nice little segue into Mercenaries. It is an interesting because I don't think it's like a traditional. Well, it's hard to explain what Mercenaries is now, because the original Mercenaries was kind of, you know, you go room to room, save survivors. Then it was RE4, 5, and 6 Mercenaries, where it's like time based, and you've got to kill enemies, punch people, and stuff like that. Capture your combo.
Well, yeah, now it's like the 4, 5, and 6 Mercenaries, but in first person and with a lot of added sort of gameplay elements and strategy. It seems like it's going to really be its own thing. I kind of would prefer if it was just left alone, like if there was a classic Mercenaries mode, you know, like Resident Evil 4, because I loved, like, especially Resident Evil 6. Oh my god, Resident Evil 6 Mercenaries mode. I can't say enough good stuff about that. But,
yeah, that's one thing I did get right. Is the
yeah, but I can't. It was like power ups, or like it'll make you faster for a while, or stuff like that. It'll make you shoot more accurately. There's different things that they did, which I guess now that I say that out loud, it is just like Mercenaries, but with like little power up boosts thrown in there for fun.
Just on that point about RE6, we recently played a 4-player mod of it. So you can play RE6 Mercenaries with 4 players. Maybe another little stream down the line we can check out.
Oh, I'll be there.
That was fun.
It's just, and it's no mercy as well, so it's just absolute carnage. It's just people all over the
50,
place.
60, 70 enemies on the screen at the same time. Yeah, it's completely different than the original.
Perfect excuse for me to buy it on PC.
What are you going to be buying Village on?
Me?
Yeah.
I have the collector's edition pre-ordered for PS4 because the PS5 one was sold out. But like I said, I get to upgrade for free, so I'm banking on that from day one. Hopefully, Capcom doesn't disappoint.
And yourself, Matt?
Well, I definitely have it on PC. I don't currently own a Xbox S or X. I still have my Xbox One, so I mean, eventually at some point I'm going to get it for Xbox, but I will be playing it the minute it comes out on PC.
Will you be streaming it as well? Day one, Kyle, will you just play it the entire weekend and just give your thoughts Monday or something?
I think I'll probably be streaming it when it comes out.
Okay.
I know we're probably all going to be competitively streaming it at the same time.
Well, it's the beauty. I mean, I'll be streaming it on Facebook. You'll probably be streaming it on YouTube. We'll probably have a Twitch presence as well with Matt. But so my the way me and Jesse have got it is just really bizarre, because I was just going to buy the PC version. I thought, my PC's not that great. I mean, it's done okay, but this is a next gen, and I want to hit this from day one and it not look like absolute dog shit and like be running at 15 FPS. I doubt it will, but I don't want to take the risk. So I'm going to be playing the Xbox Series S version, and Jesse is going to be playing the Stadia version.
Oh god.
So a Resident Evil first, and that's the point. Actually, it's going to be launching for the first time on Stadia day one, which is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So
you go Stadia, you hang in there.
We'll definitely have a very unique, between all of the little Biohazard Declassified family. We'll all have an independent port that not everybody, like, we're not just jumping.
Yeah, I'll be playing mine on PlayStation Vita, so like tune in for that.
But yeah, no, I absolutely can't wait. Anything else, gents, you want to talk about before we sign off? about Resident Evil Village. I mean, we've pretty much covered all bases. As I said, it's coming out May 7th.
May 7th, I'm pretty sure, which is almost exactly 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, and a day before my birthday. I'll be streaming it. I'm hoping to get it all done in one day. They're saying it's going to be like 15 hours long or something. I'm really hoping it's going to be less than that. I'm going to try and do it in a single segment, but we'll have to see when it comes out. It's going to be fun regardless.
Yep.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you very much, Ink Ribbon, for I appreciate it was a little bit on short notice, but I didn't want to leave it too close to the release, and then we both can't. We both are too busy because we've content to put this together. So I really appreciate you pulling the stops out to make this possible.
Of course, I'm always happy to hang out with the BHD boys anytime you need me.
Indeed, and thanks as ever, man. Well, this has been a fantastic episode of the Biohazard Declassified podcast. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Ink Ribbon, here's youtube.com/Ink Ribbon, is it? Or Ink Ribbon Games?
Ink Ribbon, youtube.com/Ink Ribbon.
Another fantastic content, Resident Evil content creator. So please jump on over to his platform and give him some love. I've been Andy. This has been the Biohazard Declassified podcast. We will see you later.